ready to get started. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Pocono Sewing Back Sewcast Radio Podcast. This is episode 6, and we are live with Kandia Haynesworth of KandiaHaynesworth.com. And if you're watching on Facebook out there, hello. Everyone say hello. We have Lauren with us too. And this is really a delight to have you, Kandia.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. And for those of you that don't know Kandia, she is actually one of our customers here at the store. And she has a really interesting story to tell us and how she got started with embroidery. Now, when I got started with embroidery, I knew absolutely nothing. And it was back in 2005, and based upon the recommendation of my garment sewing online groups, they said, go out and buy this Janome 300E, really a workhorse of a machine. I went out and bought it, brought it home, took it out of the box, looked at it, and I didn't do anything with it because I didn't know anything. I didn't know about stabilizers. I just, I had to come in for my class. Lauren, how about you?
I learned what little bits I learned here, just working here. I still am learning every single day. I've done little bits here and there, but I'm nowhere near the level to be doing it really on my own.
Right, it is. And I think that's important because although we know a lot, there's always more to know, and there's always new products out there. So, Kandia, please tell us, how did you get started in embroidery?
I actually used to own a uniform store here in town, and I used to outsource my embroidery work. And so I had 3 independent contractors, and over time, they were fired. And so pretty much one evening, I found myself in a major dilemma. One of my independent embroidery contractors had bailed out on me, and I had my first big order. This was way back in 2006. Okay, so here was, I'm just a uniform store owner that was outsourcing my work, and my independent contractor bailed out on me. Well, I came into the store one evening, and I was in just such despair. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything about embroidery. So you're talking about stabilizers. I didn't even know what a stabilizer even existed.
I hear you.
And so I walked into the store, and B was here. And I explained to her what my situation was, but the first question that I asked her was, do you have an embroidery machine for stupid people? And she said, well, we do have user-friendly machines. And then she said, well, do you want something that digitized? And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, totally foreign language.
Yeah, no. And then she said, okay, well, I have something more, a little bit more, beginners-friendly. And she took me over and showed me the Brother. At the time, it was the Brother PE750D.
Okay.
All right, and so, they've progressed since then, but she took the time, and I'm telling you, this was an absolutely amazing first experience for me. So I don't have a horror story, just because the way she presented the embroidery machine. I asked the same question 5 different times. She
answered it 5 different ways.
Yeah. And so that was how I actually got into it. But still, I was a uniform store owner, but that was my first experience with embroidery machines. I purchased the embroidery machine here, literally took the embroidery machine home, and was able to get my first order done. Just because she just sat here and just showed me here in the store, like impromptu class was like right here.
Right, this is what, and you know what, I think that's a good point to highlight, because when you buy a machine, like, we're Pocono Sewing Back, so, we're just a local, small business, a high volume dealer, but what's really important for I think our customers to know, and people out there know, is we don't work on commission. We are no pressure. We try to help. And whenever I sell a machine, I always say, do you mind if I show you how to thread it up so you can go home and use it today? And that's basically what you did.
That's exactly what happened with me. And I would tell you that, I have a group here on Facebook. It's called Embroidery Boss, and it has over 13,000 members strong. And so one of the questions that I always get all of the time is, where to buy an embroidery machine. And you can buy an embroidery machine anywhere, but it doesn't mean that you should.
Right.
Okay, and I will always recommend never, in my opinion, especially if you don't know anything about embroidery machines, do not go to an online store and buy an embroidery machine unless it is an embroidery machine seller, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like a sewing back store and so forth. Not like just a super center. Because what happens is when you need that customer support for that machine, those people can't help you. They are just representatives selling from embroidery machines to calculators to lawnmowers. They sell everything.
Right.
And so if you're going to invest that kind of money into a machine, you want to make sure that you can get help when you need it.
That's a really good, important thing to highlight, because I was in the same predicament before I worked here as an employee. I had problems with, trying to figure out my embroidery machine, and then I was having a problem with looping on top, and I came in and I spoke with B, and I said, look, I'm having this problem.
Amazing.
She is, yeah. And I said, B, what am I doing wrong here? And she's like, okay, well, let's use these needles, let's use this particular bobbin thread, and it really solved a lot of the issues that I was facing. So
So imagine if you had bought it off of something.com.
Right.
And then what?
Do you get your class? who's going to give you your free class?
Absolutely.
And that's, machine education is so important with every sewing machine purchase, embroidery machine purchase, quilting machine purchase, and like you said, online store support. So once you take your class and you're at home and you have a question, is there someone that where you bought it from to answer those questions for you?
Yep. So you can't always go by, like, Black Friday was just about a month ago, and everybody was going crazy. This one had it for this price, and this one. Okay, but who's the source here?
Right. There's
because after the Black Friday sale is over, what difference does it make if you got this phenomenal deal, but now you need help and there's nowhere to turn?
Right. Right.
Now you got a wonderful deal and a wonderful headache.
Right. So you admin Embroidery Boss.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a large group of people, and you help each other out online.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. It's called Embroidery Boss. It's here on Facebook, and it's all levels of embroidery professionals, from hobbyists to business owners, and it's a support group basically for hobbyists and business owners. So it's not a show and tell group. We do have the weekends where we do show off our projects, but not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're seeing, because we all embroider. Right. After a while, it just becomes so saturated. So it's limited to the weekend where we're showing off projects, but it really is a support group where you can really virtually get support on any kind of embroidery machine, because this group is worldwide, because it's on Facebook. Okay. And so any kind of machine that you have, you just post in a question, and there's somebody that's likely to answer and help you out there. Okay.
All right, you're a business owner.
Yep.
Okay. So how do you find all this time to admin? And then and I looked at your website, and I have to say, Kandia's website is very, very impressive. I even printed off some things, like, just to kind of jog my memory as I'm going through this podcast.
I was looking at her section, like, she does this, and she does this too, and she does this. I'm like, oh my gosh.
So you actually make the product and you sell product. Okay, so how do you get your ideas for your products? Let's cover your products first. How do you get your ideas on how to make a good, solid product and then sell it? Did you get inspired by someone or something, or Pinterest? A lot of people are inspired by Pinterest, or you just had these great ideas?
Well, I can tell you, when I first started my embroidery business, I was all over the place, which is one of the reasons I state now that you kind of pinpoint where you want to go. Because I was all over the place. You can't be all over the place, because everybody can't be your customer. Everybody can't be your source. However, I did notice that out of all the things that I was all over the place, I really gravitated to baby blankets, baby bibs, babies. And so that was my thing. That was my passion. I was so super excited when someone was having a baby shower. So I kind of gravitated to that. But I also like to sew. And I also like the idea of teaching children how to sew. And I like the idea of them taking fabric, putting it together, making something, and them putting it on, and they're so proud of their work. You see a little 8-year-old with a little skirt on. That's so cute. Right. And so that's how I kind of started going in different avenues and just kind of grouping it all together. And so what happens is, as my business grew, I had to narrow in on exactly what I was going to do. So that means that sewing classes can't be every day. I had to narrow it in on workshops and that kind of thing. And then as I grew my business and I expanded into like heat transfer vinyl and those kind of things, I started narrowing in on the embroidery orders that I would take as well. Okay. And so now that I do mentorship, it's even closing in even more.
Okay, and I did want to bring up mentorship, because when I'm looking at your website, you have your products, and then you have a category called branding. And about 10 years ago, when I was researching businesses and things like that, I discovered how important branding is. I mean, your name is out there, all right? And then you have other companies that you are helping with their branding. And you want everything associated with your brand to be a very positive experience, positive visually, what you hear and everything. So how did you get into the branding part? And that, because that's very important.
The branding part really started with me.
Okay.
Really started with me showing up, delivering my own orders, and wasn't really representing my company. So here it is. I'm showing up, starting conversations with people about, I own a personalization company, and I'm wearing nothing that's personable. So
and
you
are wearing
so
something
now,
today.
of course, this is always now, but at that time, I have a beautiful something, whatever I'm showing up with, and promoting my company, but not really representing it. So the branding really started with me. And then once I started to put my name on everything that I had, then smaller business owners would come up to me in the store, super centers. I could be in a grocery store. I could be anywhere. People would come up to me and say, who does your shirts? And that's how the conversation started.
Okay, so now you actually help other companies with their branding, whether it be with embroidery on their shirts, or I've seen you have mugs, and I guess you have the heat transfer vinyl or the stick-on vinyl.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And actually, like this year, I'm going to be doing hats. There's a TV show that comes on HBO called The Orange is the New Black. And I'm going to be doing and so that's not anything that has anything to do with embroidery or anything. That's just their brand, their production, a TV show, and they're going to be giving it to their staff members. So, so yeah.
That's pretty big though. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah,
it is pretty
exciting. You do branding, and then you do the mentorships, which I think is absolutely outstanding. You are here as a business owner, and small businesses, we all know that people, I really like when we talk about branding, because small businesses, everybody has these great ideas. But you talked about focusing what you are doing in your small business. And a lot of small businesses fail because I think people, they just have these great ideas, but they just can't pull it all together. So you really need to discipline yourself into what you are going to produce, how you are going to market it. But you're giving mentorships to who?
And so the difference between my program and other mentorship programs is simply put, when I first started out as an embroidery business owner, I was lost. I was up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and that was not why I bought this machine. I didn't have any help, no support, and I was very frustrated, and I had an expensive investment. And so I was online, and I was looking for a program, which I came across, and it was like 2:30 in the morning, and, you know, the program was about, you know, it wasn't ridiculously expensive, but it wasn't cheap. I was writing the shopping cart when it occurred to me that, wait a second, I am on the World Wide Web, which means that if I can buy this program, this mentorship program, so could a million other people. I wasn't like a million other people. My situation was unique. My situation was different. And then where was the support? And I said to myself, I can't buy this because this is a cookie cutter program. And my situation is not like everyone else's. And I promised myself that I was going to learn the business. And once I learned the business, I had promised myself to make sure that I set up a mentorship program, that it would be one-on-one. I would not saturate myself with all of these customers from worldwide. So my mentorship program, I take a handful. So that could be 12, depending on what the program is and how long it is. It could be 30. But it's not going to be 1,000 or just out there. Unlimited.
So you customize it to someone's particular business. And you also give phone consultations too.
And so what happens is you can't just go online and register for the program. You have to get through me first, and you have to pass a test, really, because I have to make sure that I can help you and that we're a good fit. And so just because you're ready doesn't mean that I feel like you're a good fit. So we talk about your needs. I talk about the services that I can offer, and you decide if you want to hire me as well. And then
that's great.
And it works out, because what happens is I'm with you every step of the way. There is a template that we do follow. However, it is geared towards what your needs, and literally I'm just pretty much the pilot, but you're like the student driver. And that's how it's set up.
So you never take on more than what you feel you can handle.
Because overwhelmed, and it can happen, because what I've also learned too is that, you know, we try to balance life, but what happens with emergencies?
Right.
It's unexpected events.
I am overwhelmed just at all
Yeah.
you do. and you even found time to come here this morning during the busy holiday season. We really appreciate it. All right, so you do the mentorships.
Yes.
You do the phone consultations.
Yes.
You actually develop your product and sell it.
Yes.
And you admin Facebook groups.
Yes.
And you also have a YouTube channel. Can you tell us
I
about that? What do you do on YouTube?
So,
Is that
you
new?
know what? No, actually, it's not new. I actually started off with just doing crafts. And I used to be a foster parent, and it started off with just doing crafts. And then I started sewing and teaching them how to sew. And then I started doing my own thing. And then I started evolving into embroidery. And what I really don't do is I don't sell my services on YouTube. I pretty much talk about the aspects of embroidery business, that kind of thing, do a lot of tutorials. And so, yeah, it's evolved. I'm actually approaching 15,000 subscribers.
Wow, that's impressive. All right.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, and how long has it taken you to get here? You started, you said, in 2006?
I started in 2006 as a uniform store owner, but I actually opened up my embroidery business in 2009.
Okay.
So which was solely dedicated to embroidery.
Okay, and it has evolved. Did it evolve instantly, or you've been adding things on? Like,
Right.
you know, when I see your website, and we talk about branding, your website is just like her. It's well laid out, it's organized, it's beautiful, but it's like when we see you in person, your website is it just matches you.
Aw, thank you.
And I've seen you on video, and I always say, it's not fair that she looks so good on video. If we could all look that good. So, I mean, it's just like you do all these things. Did you add YouTube a couple years ago? Like, was it in steps that you did all these things?
Actually, it wasn't steps. YouTube actually started around 2009, 2010 too, but it really was like, YouTube was new actually in 2009. YouTube at this point was only about 3 or 4 years old. And so a lot of things that you see on YouTube now, they're guidelines, everything is just different.
It is.
And so they were kind of winging it, and so was I.
Right.
And so it wasn't anything that was really structured. A lot of the times I would just turn on the camera and just go for it, drop stuff. I mean, unedited kind of thing, but it did eventually evolve. Like now, if I'm going to go onto YouTube and I'm going to do a live stream, there's no chit-chatting. I have a clear focus, a question, someone asks me, I have an answer, I'm ready, and that's it. There's no chit-chatting. I'm on YouTube live for an hour
and you're wasting time.
And I'm wasting time.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because one of our podcast is in its infancy. But someone commented, you know, it was on topic. You stayed on topic, because I personally, it's like, I only have so many minutes in a day, so many hours. Just get to the point and deliver. Okay.
And so what I also do now, which I find is helpful, which you may actually want to consider, is if you have a YouTube video, let's say you have a YouTube video and it's 45 minutes, and you have covered, let's say, 5 questions. Yes, you have a 45-minute video, but now you want to break that one video up into 5 small, short videos with just that pinpoints on those 5 questions.
That's a great idea.
And so what happens is, now that I have done that, if I have a 45-minute video, but I took 6 minutes to answer a particular question, that is going to be that video with that question. So this way, someone don't have to shuffle through my video.
Right. That's a really good point. All right, Lauren, I'm going to let you handle the second half, because this is where we're getting into the holiday season and customers looking for new machines. Like you said about in your group, it's Black Friday and people want to buy machines. And, you know, it's a price war. Who has the better price here? Who has the better price there? Price is important. Let's face it. You don't want to, if 2 people are selling the same machine and one's like $200 or $300 more, obviously you're not going to spend $200 or $300 more. But as far as if somebody is looking for a new machine for the holiday season, and we're at the point where you might have already purchased one, but what should you look for? I mean, do you want to take it from here, Lauren?
Yeah, like what kind of stuff do you want to look for in a machine, especially if you're a beginner, when you're looking to start out? You're not going to go right into a couple $1,000 embroidery machine. You're going to you're going to probably be under $1,000 easily. What do you want to look for? Like, you know, things like hoop size are important, and
you want to look for hoop sizes. That's number one. You also want to have a direction on why are you buying this embroidery machine. If you're going to start off with just doing something for businesses, then you may be able to stay within a machine that has a limited hoop size, like a 4x4. I know that a lot of people start off with that machine and they want to start selling services to businesses. That's not a bad idea, because businesses generally will buy shirts from you that have a logo that's small anyway.
Yeah.
But if you want to do something more on a grander scale, then you might want to sway from that. It might even be worth even saving up for a machine that's a little bit more, not thousands of dollars, but if you can go into maybe a $1,500 mark, even a $2,000 mark, it will be worth your while, because your hoop size is going to be substantially greater from a 4x4 up until like a 6x10.
Exactly. And
So
once you're limited,
it.
the biggest size is the biggest you will ever be able to do on that machine.
Right.
And a lot of people
That's
don't
exactly
think realize when they get the machine and they start with that little 4x4. It's
Yeah.
great for logos, but if you do want to expand into bigger projects, you will be limited.
And you will see that you will grow very quickly out of a 4x4 machine.
Once you start
That's-
embroidering, you want to put embroidery on every single
that
thing
is
you
key.
have.
And I know, like, when I was purchasing an embroidery machine, everybody said, don't get a 4x4 because you're really limiting yourself. They said, go minimum 5x7. But, like, you know, there are pros and cons. You do have to consider price.
Yeah.
And some
Yeah.
people just, I don't know if I'm going to want to do it. So maybe 4x4 is a good starting point. But you have to think of what you want to do and kind of match that to the hoop size.
Right. And so if you can hold off on buying a 4x4, and you can even afford something like a 5x7, that will be your greater bet, because if you don't want to wait until you get the machine that has a 6x10 and you want to start off with a 5x7, that's going to be your best bet, because at least you can backtrack to a 4x4. And now they even have it where you can buy these extended hoop sizes where you can reposition them.
Yes.
So if you have a 5x7 machine, you can buy the 5x12 hoop size and reposition it.
Right.
So, you know, you can do a greater area, so to speak. But overall, though, I would say that you would have your, in regards to a price point, I would say under $1,000 is
Good for a beginner to start with.
Okay.
What about the person who's been doing it, you know, for a little while? Maybe they have like a small Etsy shop going, but they want to expand and really create a real business for themselves. Where would you direct somebody like that to go machine-wise?
I would say then you want to look at your 6-needle machines. And I always recommend, you know what, don't turn your nose up to used machines.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Used machines, the floor models in stores, that is a good way to go, because you're going to save there too. So a good 6-needle machine is a good place to start off with, used. And they also have, the Brother have a four-thread machine with one single needle.
Yes.
Single needle machine.
Yep.
That's actually a really good place to start off with too, for a person that has like an Etsy shop or something like that too. Now that's going to be your $5,000 mark and under if you're going to get a used machine.
Right.
And so that's a good point, because you're going to take a little while to grow out of a 6-needle machine. That's going to take a little while, and it's going to help you pay for the machine and help you earn money to buy a greater machine like a 10-needle in the future. So that's a good point to start off
I
with.
think the focus here, like when you talked about business focus, whenever you're purchasing a large machine, you are talking the larger the hoop size, generally the greater the price.
Greater the price.
But
it's also a greater the profit too.
True. And if you're focused and you kind of know what you want to do, I always think, like, even when people come in for big quilting machines, you're thinking about maybe doing work for other people, you need to make that machine work for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you have in mind.
Yes.
I do want to caution people, and Lauren, you can chime in on this. When you buy a smaller machine, and we see this all the time, we always say, well, if you use it for business, that may void your warranty. Hey, let's face it, everybody
Those
does it.
4x4s are not meant to run a full shop.
They're not.
on.
They're hobbyist machines. But
Right.
a lot of times what happens is when you buy a machine as a hobbyist, you don't even realize that you may turn into a business.
It just kind of happens.
Right.
Naturally.
Kind of
Right.
happens.
So I mean, I personally don't worry about that. I mean, if you're using your machine 8 hours a day, yeah, you're
Good
gonna
for you,
kill it.
But you are
good
gonna,
for you.
you are gonna
You're
kill
making
it.
some money, you're gonna kill it. So just bear in mind that these are, like, when you get an entry-level machine, they're not made to be industrial. Okay, so be mindful of that. But yes, I mean, a lot of people do run their businesses.
They'll be doing those
them.
freestanding ornaments on their 4x4 all day long as Christmas gifts, and they're just not meant to take that.
Yes. I want people to have a realistic view.
Yeah.
It's great to start off that way.
It's a hobby,
and you did that too.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we do need to be mindful of that. You know, just remember, if you're stitching a lot and you come in there and you stitch 12 million stitches on your little 4x4, well,
you better be selling what you're stitching because it's time to move up.
Exactly.
Yeah, in 6 months, you know, it might be time to move up the ladder as far as embroidery machines. All right. And Lauren, did you want to continue off of that?
Well, yeah. Do you want to move on to the next section here? Or do you think you're good on machines? Or?
Yeah, I think we're good on machines. Kandia made the point about something like the Persona, a single needle with 4 threads with 4 spool pins in the back. It's just a single needle machine, but if you can't afford a 6 needle or a 10 needle in your business and you're looking to grow your business, a single needle professional series machine would also, like you said, would be the way to go.
Because you get that free arm too with it. So you can do hats, you can do sleeves, you can do shoes even.
But it's a rugged machine. And you mentioned used machines. I got to caution you out there because we had a situation last week where someone was looking into buying a used machine. All right, if you know the stitch count on the machine, it gives you a better idea as far as how it was used, okay, how much it was used. But you always want to try to get a warranty. And if you're dealing with a private seller, I'm not saying don't buy from a private seller. I'm just saying these are all things to be aware of, because when you buy a used machine, we guarantee our machines.
I have to chime in, and you know what? I will stand corrected. You are right, because I have purchased used machines, and I've purchased them here, and I've always had the support. And so I do want to caution sellers, buyers out there. You're right. If you are going to buy a used machine, you are taking a risk, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. If you're buying it from, let's say, a private seller versus a store, right?
There are a lot of ethical people out there, but there are a lot of unethical.
And when I did buy my used machines here, it did come with the warranty. I did still, once again, had that support. That's why you have to be careful where you buy. And so that is a good point.
All right, go ahead, Lauren.
And I want to mention too, like, even when you're looking at stitch count, you might have, it is really like buying a used car. You might have a car with 150,000 miles, you might have a car with 100,000 miles, but it depends how that car was taken care of. What's more important is, was it serviced? Has it been maintained? Has it been oiled? Have needles been changed or just left to kind of hit and run? You want to make sure that you want to look at the stitch count, but ask them, has this been serviced? Have, are there any issues with this machine? It's good to look into that kind of stuff too.
Right. Okay.
Good points, Lauren.
Common pitfalls for beginning embroiderers. What do you see as common questions that just keep coming back to people? Like, whether you're in your groups, is it stabilizer, needles?
Well, my group again is kind of geared towards business owners because it's called Embroidery Boss. One of the pitfalls I can tell you, one of the most popular questions is what happens when customers don't pay you. You want to know that?
Okay.
All right. But in regards to pitfalls, for someone who's buying a new embroidery machine, what I find is that they go out and they buy everything. And so what happens is they're stuck with all this stuff that they either don't like, don't need, not going to use. So you have to be careful. They go and buy everything.
Guilty as charged. I've done that.
I would say narrow it in onto a checklist. Think about what you are going to use this stuff for. And look for samples. Do swaps, you know what I mean? In groups, whether it's my group or any other group, ask someone would they be willing to sell a piece of a stabilizer opposed to buying the whole roll on some kind of .com. You know what I mean? So if you can sell, pay somebody $5 or $6 for maybe a sheet of stabilizer opposed to $35 for a whole roll. You can save it there. If you don't like it, okay. If you do love it, you go and buy it. But don't go out and buy all this stuff because you'll be sitting on all that stuff.
And for those of you out there that don't know, there are tons. There are like hundreds of different types of stabilizers, different brands, and you can just go crazy dizzy with all these different things, thinking that you need them, and then buying something and really realizing, boy, this is not what I wanted at all. All right. As far as like the accessories that go with it, needles, bobbin thread, embroidery thread, do you get a lot of questions about that?
A lot of times with needles, people are not sure what needles to use on things like t-shirts. They think that the universal needles goes for everything, and pretty much universal does mean that, but it's still a good idea rather to stick with what that needle is specifically for. So if you have cotton, you want to use, your ballpoint needles, you don't want to just grab a needle.
Okay.
Because it can be a difference in the hole that pounds into the fabric. It can be a difference in the size of the hole that's making. That it's going to be making. So.
All right. One of the things we talk a lot about in the store is thread. And I always tell people, this kind of goes back to what you said about stabilizers. If you can just buy a piece, I always tell people when you're buying thread, refrain from buying a whole collection of a particular brand because, and I swear, every machine, you can have 10 different machines. And they, one person will say, my machine loves this thread. And then number two will say, my machine hates that thread. Just buy a couple spools of a thread that you think you like. Make sure that your machine enjoys using that thread. Machines have a personality of their own, believe it or not.
And I would like to add that you want to kind of stay away from the bargain bin.
Thank you.
The bargain bin. I mean, again, I know we all love a bargain. But what good is a bargain if a bargain comes with a headache?
Right.
That could be a difference in it's popping and breaking, and you're constantly, so you're in the middle of a project, you're excited about your machine, you can't even get through your project, or you've added an additional 15 minutes, half hour, because you're constantly rethreading your machine because it's breaking.
Right.
So buy a quality, you can get a quality thread on sale, or maybe use a coupon, or at a not so expensive price, but that 2 for 50 cents thread, no.
Right. The thread can make or break.
Every day people come in and all it was just the thread they were using.
Right.
They're just using some bad thread.
Right. Even bobbin thread as well. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I think we kind of, the advantages of purchasing online through a dealer, I think we covered that. Support, warranties. When you buy online, I'm not saying don't buy online, because a lot of people these days, a lot of dealers have closed up just due to economics, and they're forced to buy their machine online.
Right.
But as far as warranty, if your machine breaks, and do you have someone local to take your machine to? That's going to be very important. That's one of the reasons why it is a good idea to purchase from a dealer. We all make mistakes. We sometimes we put needles in the wrong way, and sometimes bad things happen, and then you have to bring your machine somewhere. Okay, so there's some issues there. All right, as far as, now, do you do a lot of your own digitizing?
No, I do not, actually. I do have outsources of, I have like 3 companies that I like to use, and basically what I like to do is think about my client, what they're asking for, and then based on that particular digitizer's results, that is how I assign the digitizing.
Okay, so you have auditioned, like if you basically pre-screen them for your customers?
Yes, definitely. I pre-screen digitize, because I get calls all the time. People want to do free digitizing for me, but just because, again, something's a good price, sometimes it's packaged well and it's horrible service or horrible results. And I can't do do-overs. My customers don't have time for do-overs, especially if it's schools, hospitals, and so forth. I need it done, and it needs to look like their image.
Right. So quality digitizing is really important. And I know, like, I tell customers sometimes, well, if you need it right away within 24 hours, there's a lot of places online that will do that for you. But you may not get what you want. And it may just be sent through an auto digitizer in the program, of which, the program itself just assigns all the properties to that design. And it may not be a good quality design. So you have your particular digitizer.
And because my business is the way it's set up, I don't have time literally to sit there and
I was going to say, do you think this is something you may get into in the future? Okay, all right.
I'm asked that all the time. No, I do like the merging softwares, though. I would recommend that. The merging softwares where you can merge 2 designs or fonts and stuff together. That has been extremely helpful.
Okay, basically an editing software.
Yeah, an editing software, yes.
Okay. And Lauren, what do you think are some of the most popular editing software
There's a lot of really good ones, and they're really not too expensive either, but Designer's Gallery has some really good, easy to use. Brother also has some good. PED Basic is a good editing software.
Okay.
I know that there are free ones online even. Some people like to use that, you know.
Yeah.
Do you know, I haven't used any of those personally, but you've been doing this longer than I have.
I haven't used any free ones. I have two or three different types of software at home. But some are editing software, some I've added on the modules, you know, things like that. But I think that, you know, as far as learning how to digitize, that's a whole nother ball of wax. You can embroider but not digitize, or you can do both the same, but it's just a really intensive type of thing to do, to actually create a design. And people think, oh, I have a picture here. Here's your picture. Put it in your computer and spit me out an embroidery design. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and see, with me, it's kind of tough for the person that I hire because I have such a sharp eye, whereas I don't digitize, but I can tell you instantly if a stitch is off just by looking at it and saying, okay, right there, that's where you messed up. Let's do something over again, and I can literally tell you where you missed the mark at. Can't fix it,
right?
I can tell you where you missed the mark at, and so, but it's a whole new different world. It's a whole new different learning curve too, right? In combination to learning all the other things of an embroidery business.
Right,
it takes time.
Yeah, Lauren, have we gotten any questions on our Facebook that maybe we could answer for our customers?
Well, Elisa says that we're sideways right now and we need to turn the phone around. It might be a little late for that at this point.
Yes, it is a little late. Sorry about that, you guys. All right. Any other questions out there that you guys may have? Just, you know, post them now. But other than that, I think we're going to kind of wrap it up unless we see some questions pop up. And Kandia, where can our customers find you on social media?
You can find me at KandiaHaynesworth.com. That's my website, and it's also going to be on Facebook at KandiaHaynesworth.com, and it's also going to be on YouTube and Pinterest at Kandia Haynesworth, and I'm also on Instagram as well at Kandia Haynesworth.
Okay, that's awesome. And this is your first podcast?
This is my first podcast.
Awesome.
I absolutely love it.
Okay,
thank
great.
you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And also, for all of you out there, please follow us on Pocono Sewing Back Since 1979 Facebook page. We are on Instagram and Twitter, and also our podcast, SewCast Radio. If you don't subscribe to podcasts via iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play, you can go to our website, PoconoSewingBack.com, and click on the link across the ribbon near the top of the screen. There's one for SewCast Radio. So you can also click on that and listen to our most recent podcast. Kandia, we're going to end it like this. You purchased a new machine last week.
I did. I purchased the Brother Scan and Cut DX225.
Okay.
I am when I tell you super excited about having this machine, I am super excited about it. I think just everyone should get it if you have an embroidery machine.
All right, and what do you plan on using it for in your business?
Well, actually, I plan on using it exactly what it's for. Using it in combination with my embroidery machine to cut out appliques. It's going to be like having an assistant.
Okay,
that's it.
An electronic assistant.
A free electronic assistant.
Yes.
You don't have to pay the machine.
Well, not exactly free, but
yeah.
But in your office, it's that free assistant for you. All right, we can't wait to find out and see how you're using that in your business.
Yeah.
So, Kandia, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to join our customers and your customers.
Thank you.
And I think we'll wrap it up with that.
Alrighty.
All right, you guys. Any questions?
Christine wants to know if we can post her information. Yeah, we can definitely link to all of our pages on here.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll post it right in the comments below this video.
Yes.
Place, I think.
Okay. Any other questions, you guys? Closing it out this morning.
Hi, Angela.
Hi, Angela.
All right, you guys. We're going to end the video and Facebook Live. Thanks for joining us this morning.